Evening, happy Sunday. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay. And I'm going to give our guest here a couple minutes to see if he joins in, say some hellos. I see some of you guys have been asking questions. That's great. Tindy Time, what's up? Doc Zeno, John's Day Trades. La Pietra, good evening. Roseanne, good evening. Trade and Invest, good evening. Jersey Recycler, what's up? John's Touchpad, Z Punchy Nuts, the venerable Punchy Nuts, welcome back. You got a couple minutes to get your drinks ready. Spark up your smokes, whatever your Sunday night pleasure is. Keep your pants on. Yuka Frito, what's up? Six Sun, Ben, good evening. Remember, the evening live streams are a little more informal. We might have a drink. We might have a smoke. We're just talking some stocks in the evening, hanging out and having some good times, answering your questions, getting ready for next week. I'm a little more serious on the daytime live streams unless I'm wearing the Hulkmania shirt. And then, you know, things are going to get crazy. Wayne Wood, good evening. James, BP, PDX, Dave, Mr. Mills. Yes, Tindy Time, please keep your pants on. Tonight, we're going to go over for sure COSM. I'll touch on MMTLP. I'm sure there'll be a couple of AMC and maybe GameStop questions. Talk about one other ticker that I'm looking at for next week. And then, you know, whatever other questions that you guys have. This is your chance. And just again, to make sure, because I know people, maybe it's your first time here. Maybe you've only seen the hate channels that hate Tony Denaro. I'm not a CPA, guys. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not even an expert. I'm just a dude who's been trading for 30 years, who loves to read and research and dig deep. I spend most of my day, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, doing research on topics that you guys ask me about or things that I am interested in. I don't know everything. Sometimes I get things wrong, but we do try and keep it fact-based here, non-hopium, things that I can show you with data so that tomorrow or next week or next year, we can show up with integrity and say, to the best of our ability, we all worked together to make money and not bag hold shit. Because at the end of the day, if you're not here a year or 2 or 5 years from now, what is the point of me being here today? Honestly, it's not always popular channel. I can tell you that. I am the most hated YouTuber covering finance because I tell it like it is. There's plenty of people that hate this channel. It's not that I'm trying to smash hopium. It's not that I don't like certain stocks. I just tell you the truth based on company filings or analysis of the financials. And we don't talk dates. I'm not going to talk price brackets. I'm not going to talk price targets. We can look at a chart and make some estimates. You could ask me, someone's telling me this 10-cent stock is going to $300. Is that likely to happen? I can probably give you a reasonable guess if that is likely going to happen or not. But I'm not going to tell you, you know, tomorrow this XYZ stock is going to be $2, $30, $100. Who fucking knows, man? Squeeze plays, momentum plays, highly shorted plays. Anything can happen when retail gets behind a stock. But we can make certain observations after years of doing this about what is likely to happen when we get in these scenarios. And these scenarios happen every single week. Most importantly, I like to talk about a risk balanced portfolio. You know, I don't momentum or swing or short squeeze trade my entire portfolio. It's a small percentage. You should have a risk balanced portfolio with long-term holdings, things that are solid, your Amazons, Teslas, you know what I'm talking about. If you want to swing trade everything because you're just starting out and you only got a little bit of coin, I'm not going to fault you for that. We all got to start somewhere. But just know when I'm day trading or when I'm momentum trading, I'm not putting my entire portfolio in one play. That is a very fast way to either go broke, get fantastically lucky, or to be stuck in a play for years because it didn't work out the way that you want and you became a unwilling long-term holder. I know some of y'all, everybody's been there once or twice, right? I've made all the mistakes. If you're just starting out trading, I've made all the mistakes. We all think we're bulletproof. We got the system, we got the formula, and then a year later we got nothing in our little portfolio. So yeah, I might be a little more conservative than some people. That is from the painful experience of thinking that you always are going to knock it out of the park. Very few people knock play after play after play after play. I hear these people talking on YouTube. We're going to make 20x in this play. We're going to roll that into the next one and make 30x, and then we'll roll that into the next one, and then we'll retire. To do that 3 plays in a row it's tough. It's tough. Not saying it's impossible, but it's tough. What am I smoking tonight? This is a Cohiba, but not from Cuba, Dominican Republic. Rolled on the thighs of virgins in the Dominican Republic. Oh yeah, Dream of Stuff. Good question. Dream of Stuff says, biggest mistake I made is not shorting the market. And that was one of the things I wanted to say, because people, I saw them all in the comments this weekend. You're obviously shorting XYZ stock because you told us a fact that doesn't agree with my preconceived notion. Guys, I have never one time in my life, I'm pushing on 93 years old. Yes, I have some sarcastic humor. You're going to have to learn to figure it out. But in my 93 years of life, I have yet to short a stock. I might start next year if this fucking bear market keeps up. And I will tell you when I do, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm shorting. But just because I don't spoon feed you exactly what you want to hear, if I'm realistic about something, it's not because I'm shorting it. It's because I'm trying to give you my opinion, my realistic expectation. I would much rather, I like to see companies succeed. I like to see you guys succeed. I like to bet on a winner. I don't like betting the dark side, but I will in 2020. What's next year? 2023. If this bear market keeps up, we gotta get creative and play both sides. So I mean, it's pretty easy to call the top in a lot of these plays, and it's just a shame not to be able to short it on the way back down. Captain Brian, I've got a punch in the humidor. In fact, I got one right here. My backup for tonight. And this one, I think this one is from Havana. When I traveled overseas, I used to snag Cuban cigars. Muskie Doge, good evening. King Louie, John's Day Trades already said hi to you. Juicy, got you crazy. Good evening. Proud Ma, what's up? All right, so I'm going to give our guest a few more minutes to talk about COSM. I talked to him on the phone, and he was going to be on some Twitter space calls, and then he said he was going to try and jump in here. But if for whatever reason he is not able to make it tonight, I will go over with you exactly what we covered, all of the questions that you guys have been asking all weekend. I had some of the same questions. He cleared them up for me. I thought, since everybody's calling me FUD, why not just have someone from the company come on and tell you? And we'll give him a few more minutes. Let's get a couple of other questions out of the way. MMTLP, right? Some of y'all are in that one. And the big concern on that stock that I see going around right now is FINRA has not updated the corporate action. So I pulled up the FINRA corporate action website. I can put it on the screen if you guys want to see it. But in general, if you go look at all of the history of corporate actions, when they put the notices out, it's 1 to 3 days before the effective date is when they publish it. So I'm not in MMTLP, but for those of you that are in it, I'm not worried for you that you're not seeing an update on FINRA's website. You could go all the way until December 13th and not see something. I saw some that were being posted the same day, which doesn't really make sense, but it depends on the type of corporate action. So MMTLP, just chill out. December, I think 12th is the date of record, right? And December 14th is going to be the last day of trading, if I'm not mistaken. You'll be fine. I saw all the drama tweets going around from John, what's his last name? Berta. I'm not going to get into those. It's 10 days away. It's a rabbit hole I don't care to go down at this point. That this thing probably is going to happen in 10 days. So hats off to him if he wants to chase that. I'm not in the play. Don't really care to spend hours of my day getting up to speed on all those finer points about was MMTLP legal? I mean, guys, we're way past the point of asking that question. Should have been asking that question a year ago. Mullen, Luna's Life. I took a position in Mullen on a couple days ago, just for a day when they had that little run up. I was hoping it would be a little multi-day retail temporary momentum push. It didn't pan out, so I got out. Mullen is going to have a dilution coming up December 23rd, I think, if memory serves me. And David Mishery sold himself a preferred share that gives him 1.3 billion votes. So he's going to swing the vote. It almost doesn't matter what you vote. There's going to be a reverse split and there's going to be dilution. It would be my guess. That's my guess. So, man, I said I'd take a longer term position in Mullen a month ago. I said that when it hit a quarter. I've resisted buying Mullen for the last year. I said I'd buy it when it got to around 25 cents. And then the day before that happened, they released the information that there was going to be more dilution. I was like, yeah, no, I'll wait. I'll wait and see if it drops to 10 or 15 cents. It's sitting around 20 right now, I think. I have no idea if it will drop that low, but I'm not anxious to jump in at 20 cents for a long-term position, knowing what typically happens when a reverse split. Number one, when they get announced, the stocks usually go down. Number two, when they go in effect and the reverse split happens, most stocks go down. And I know you're watching the channels that say, but guys, there was this one company, there was this one that went up. I want you to look this one up, guys. Yeah, there's always an exception, but I'm talking the generalities, the general rules. It's not even a rule, but the general statistics after a reverse split, it's usually not received in a bullish fashion. G Immortal says MMTLP December 12th is the last day of trading and December 14th distribution. Yeah, I'll pull it up when we get a guest speaker on. I thought December 12th was date of record and December 14th was the last day it would be listed. You're going to be able to trade it all the way up until the very last day. I've gone through this conversation with people about date of record confusion. Guys, how many times, those of you who have been listening to me, but Tony, It says date of record. We won't be able to trade it. You won't get. Yes, you will. Just, you don't hear me now, believe me later. Tomorrow's news today. I saw someone asking about CGRA. Let me put that screen up here. CGRA, I'm going to be honest with you, is one that I'm looking at. CGRA. Still waiting for our Cosmos guest to join in, so I'm just filling time here. Let me put this chart up. Wrong screen. Let me get the right monitor pulled up. Here we go. Should be this one. There we go. CGRA is a 8-cent stock that was trading month and a half ago at a penny. So, I mean, it's up tremendous over the last 6 weeks. It's even up 47% from the last trading day. There's, from what I was able to look at, when I looked at it very briefly, it doesn't appear to be a short squeeze play. It's got a fairly high free float, 491 million shares. But here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to do a CGRA. I will be watching this one tomorrow for this reason. If GTII and COSM are not moving, this one is getting a lot of push in social media, right? CGRA. And it is cheap. And you guys who've been doing this for a while know what that usually means. You get a cheap stock, people pushing it, and some other plays not working out. People will tend to gravitate towards something that's moving. And this one's been going up for the past 4 trading days. It could still easily double and triple. I'm not basing that off of any shorts or anything other than just retail FOMO. But that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me to momentum or day trade it. So keep an eye on CGRA. Unfortunately, those type of plays can take big drops real quick too. So you got to watch it closely. As I said to the folks in the Discord, if you're playing these stocks and you got a large position, put your adult diapers on. No bathroom breaks, no walking away from the screen. Jersey Recycler said AVCT and Zila, had reverse splits and went straight down. Sundial, I mean, the list is endless. For every clickbait channel who gives you the one that went up after a reverse split, I could probably sit down in 10 minutes and give you 20 that went down. It's just, by the time a company is doing a reverse split, unfortunately, things have gotten to a pretty bad place fundamentally and how they got themselves in that situation. All right. While we're waiting for our Cosmos guest, I'll take another question here. If shareholders, Geomortal says, if shareholders convert APE to AMC, what would be the price? That is a good question, Geomortal. Just to recap really quickly on that play, the company AMC is indicated in documentation, which is available on their website, the FAQ, the filings. They have indicated to investors that there is no short-term plan to do any conversion. And as you know, they're planning to use APE to pay off the debt. So I would imagine APE will be around for years because $5 billion in debt, unless there's a short squeeze and they're able to dump some APE at a really high price, it's going to take them a long time to accumulate enough money selling APE to pay off $5 billion. But when that day comes, you will you will have to vote. Let's say there's 1 billion APE shares at that point, a year from now. You'll have to vote, and they will have to propose, and you'll have to vote to create 1 billion new AMC shares. And if people vote, and they'll say, we're going to create 1 billion new AMC shares for the purpose of converting APE to AMC. Vote yes or no. If the yes vote passes, APE will immediately, the next day or whenever the corporate action can be pushed through by FINRA, APE will be converted to AMC, and APE will cease to exist. At what price? That is a good question. I was talking to someone on the phone about that the other day. I've been going back and forth trying to game out different scenarios. But I think, you guys, what do you think? What do you think of this? I think that the value, you saw what happened when APE and AMC split, right? The price, like 60% stayed in AMC, 40% went to APE. I think that you would just see the unwinding of that. So whatever APE plus AMC combined are, that would be the new price of AMC. So if AMC was, let's say, $8 and APE was $1, and all of those APE shares converted back to AMC, you'd get 1.5 billion AMC at $9. That's what I think. Does that make logical sense to you guys? It's just the opposite of what happened when they split. All right, I see our guest is in the waiting lobby. Let me see if he's got his mic on. I'm going to bring him into the chat. Let me get this screen share off of here. Frank?
Hey, Tony, how are you?
I am doing swell, Frank. Thank you for joining us. And I know it's late in your time zone, so I do appreciate you coming in.
No, buddy, I'm watching a Cowboy game.
All right. Frank, why don't you, I'm sure some of the folks who follow you on Twitter know who you are. And I've only been recently introduced to you myself on Twitter in a brief phone call we had today, but I appreciate you trying to provide factual information for the folks. As you know, that's what my channel is about, and it looks like that's what you're about also. But can you tell us, Frank, what your relationship with the company is, just so we can level set the conversation for the folks?
My pleasure, my pleasure. I'm the third-party IR consultant. I do not work directly for the company as an officer. I'm a third-party consultant, and my job is basically to communicate with people as best as possible. This is a bit of a tricky one because the logistics change very rapidly here. There's a lot of information out there. It's hard to filter through what's real, what's not. It's difficult for us as the company because there's so many different reports. But, I try to get the latest and greatest to people. I try not to be the pumper type because there's no reason to pump. The company stands on its own. Just for everyone's education, I have no free trading stock in the company. I trade in the company. I have no financial gain if the stock's up, down, sideways. I get paid every month, and I have a block of restricted stock, so I have nothing to gain by the stock being higher or lower.
And you told me earlier today that you're in direct contact with the officers of the company, though, right?
Multiple times a day, yes.
Okay. And what about just, Frank, sorry for asking these questions, but for the folks that don't know you, how would you convince someone that doesn't know you that you're legit? Now, that might be a tough question. Maybe you don't even need to answer it, but
I could provide the email of the COO or the CEO. They answer everything. You could send them a message and wait until they respond.
Okay. So, and if folks have questions about that, you're okay with them DMing you or sending you a message on Twitter? I know you can't DM. I can't DM you, but folks can reach out to you if they need to, right?
I'm very reachable. My phone number is everywhere.
Okay.
Feel free to, if anyone's got a pen handy, 619-915-9422. Shoot me a text or a call. I answer every text and call.
I appreciate that, Frank. All right. So the first, let's tackle an easy question first.
Listen, I'll answer what I can. I'm a little restricted because we're expecting a pretty exciting week. So anything I can answer, if I don't, it's not because I don't have the answer. Just I'm somewhat handcuffed right now because there should be some
not
updates.
everything's been officially released on press releases. I get it.
Precisely.
So there's a lot of questions going around and a lot of comments and assumptions going around about the CEO buying shares of the company, conversion of preferred shares. Can you just explain in your own words exactly what is happening with that? I understand now what is happening, but I think you can shed some light for the folks to make it crystal clear to them how that's happening.
No, my pleasure. Back in October, when we did the raise, he participated with $1.5 million cash, and he put that money in to the raise and purchased the stock. Subsequently, there's been, I believe, 4 Form 4s. Greg has invested millions into the company, and he's loaned the company millions, and that was hard dollars. He took preferred stock in lieu of taking cash because obviously in a growing business, cash is king. So what he did was when the stock was moving up and he converted his preferred stock that he had previously loaned the company money for, hard cash went into the company, he got preferred stock in lieu of cash. He converted that at a loss both times. The first time he converted, I think it was 53, 54. Last time it was in the upper 30s. But he's doing that to send a clear message to the street that he is, first of all, the largest individual shareholder. Number two, how much he believes in the company. And to date, he's put $10.6 million into the stock with an average cost of 5.25. So, this guy, he's behind it. He's battling for people. And you'll see that this week, how behind you all he is.
And I've seen that in the financial statements, the disclosures about his loans to the company. So that makes sense to me. What was unclear to me before I spoke to you earlier today was a lot of people just making assumptions that he's writing a check in the last 2 days to convert all of these shares. And
no, he converted his shares on a check he previously wrote.
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping people understand now. And thank you for helping clear that up. This was money he loaned to the company previously, and he's paying off that debt by converting the shares. Part of that.
Yes,
debt.
that did take almost $2 million off the balance sheet, and they just renegotiated another loan, so the balance sheet has improved by 50% in the debt area.
Right.
And we're sitting on about just shy of $9 million in cash.
I know a lot of people already know this, but a lot of people don't. I'm seeing YouTubers and people on StockTwits and Webull and everywhere, making assumptions or wrong information. So I wanted to just cross that one off the due diligence list. And thank you for covering that.
Pleasure.
We're going to get into the free float in just a second and short interest, but I know that the burning question, and you may not be able to answer this, but there is a lot of questions about the meeting on Friday and the reverse split. Can you say anything about that?
Sure. The RS was approved. That had to be approved because we're certainly not going to lose our listing. Should we can't bank our entire listing on hoping it gets to $1. If it does get there, great. I'm sure that the circumstances would change as far as the company goes. But we had to have a safety net that's just fiduciarily responsible to the shareholders. We're certainly not going to let ourselves get knocked down to the bulletin board. Not that there's anything wrong with the OTCB, but we're a NASDAQ company. It took us a lot to get there. He spent a lot of money, and he wants to preserve his listing. So it was approved. If there is a reverse, Greg's reversing himself, so it's not something that I'm sure he's looking forward to. But like I said, the reverse could work in your favor a lot of ways if it does happen. CUSIP change, a lot of shorts will have to cover. So, this is not a reverse if it happens. It's not a reverse like an OTC that maxes out their outstanding shares and dilutes again as soon as they reverse. That's not the point here. The point here is just to get compliant with NASDAQ. If that's what they require, that's what we're going to do. If they don't require it, we're going to stretch it out and get extensions as long as possible and try to get there organically.
And by organically, I'm sure everybody knows that would be getting over $1 for 10 consecutive trading days.
Yes, and it's going to take firepower to do that, and I believe we have the firepower coming.
Right.
I can tell you this much without disclosing too much. This company is going to set the standard going forward as to how a company should treat its shareholders. There's a lot of problems out there We've seen our short position go anywhere from 13 to 2,000%. 2,000 is ridiculous. You and I both know that. That was based off the old float. But 13% is also ridiculous because just Friday alone, we saw the average short trading, in the 40, 50% range. So I doubt very highly they cover those shares in the aftermarket on Friday. So
is that on the daily short volume, you mean?
Yes. So, and that doesn't include the dark pools. And listen, we all know that short sellers are masters. They're the most sophisticated guys out there. They know how to hide these and roll these short positions over, which we found out the hard way. We didn't even know we were listed on the Frankfurt until somebody said, hey, you have a Frankfurt listing. We didn't even know it was out there.
Yeah, it is amazing how they can do that. That happened on AMC in Brazil also. They can either do a sponsored foreign exchange or unsponsored. It's amazing what these guys can do.
All somebody has to do is deposit stock on the exchange and you're listed.
Yep.
Very simple. That's a loophole that has to be discussed. Greg and I have spent hours on the phone discussing what to do with that. And I said to him, Greg, you have a decision to make here. You're either going to be passive and be part of the problem or be aggressive and be part of the solution. Because as long as these OTC companies or small companies or any company, as a matter of fact, keeps turning a blind eye to this and doing what the AMCs did, and the second the stock starts to run, they just crap all over the shareholders, this is never going to change. It's going to take one or two or three CEOs that really take the initiative to protect shareholders and get in their corner, and it'll become the standard because people will look at an investment and say, how are you protecting us? How are you looking out for us? And Greg will have multiple avenues where he's getting behind the shareholders and saying, okay, we're with you here, we're with you there, and we have your back. Because too long, the streets treated shareholders just like an ATM machine, especially retail. I'm a retail guy. I have been forever. I consider myself more of a shareholder advocate than an IR person because I fight with these companies. Every company I represent, if they turn on the dilution spigot, I'm all over them. I can't stand it because you're hurting my people. And somebody has to be in there to fight for them. Yes, I have a voice, but it's not a huge voice. Greg has a huge voice. And I think if you watch the press releases coming over the next week or two, you'll really see how much this guy cares about his shareholders.
And for anyone listening in, if you're not a COSM investor or following it, Greg is the CEO.
Greg CEO, because I'm sorry, I thought that was a given.
Yeah, well, not there's people that are interested in other tickers listening in, so I just want to take 1 second to clarify that.
I appreciate it.
All right, and before we move on to short interest and shares outstanding, free float, what you said other companies that you're helping do investor relations for one or more other companies?
Yeah, let's just keep this to COSM. I don't want to,
fair enough.
Listen, anybody can go to my Twitter and see who I represent. I don't want to, I'm not a pumper. I don't want to sit here and use your forum to further my own goal.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to shares outstanding. A couple months ago, it was in the 20 million-ish range, right? 25 million or so. 25 million shares outstanding.
Prior to the last offering. Yeah, we raised 13.5 million on the last offering. And, the shares went up and it was around 53 million, but there was heavy warrant coverage because let me take a step back. The original deal we did way back a year and a half ago with Ansem Funds and Armistice, who are somewhat known for shorting their own companies. They had attached, this is before I got involved with the company because I would have never let this deal go through. They had a full ratchet warrant attached to it. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what a full ratchet warrant is, that's the death blow. That's the floorless convertible. That's the bottomless spigot. The lower the stock goes, the more stock they get. So what I did was I suggested that they exchange those warrants for plain vanilla. So obviously to lose a full ratchet warrant, they wanted a lot. They took 50 million warrants and 2 million in cash to give up 25 million full ratchets. In the long term, it saved us hundreds of millions of shares. In the short term, they had these warrants. When we did the deal and the stock moved up out of our control, they exercised their warrants. We didn't call them in. We didn't dilute. This was a feature that we did that offered long-term protection for the shareholders. So we made a move that we felt was better than the full ratchet warrant. They converted every single warrant that they had. The only warrants now are held by insiders and people close to the company. So you won't see any more of these warrants getting converted. The full the float right now, the entire float is 173 million. The free float is 153. Greg and the other insiders control 90 million, which consists of 45 million for Greg, 30, just shy of 30 on the insiders, and then the warrants that attach to them. So if it was fully diluted, which is not going to happen anytime soon, fully diluted would be 278 minus, I'm sorry, 243. My number's 243 would be fully diluted, including Greg stock, which is 90 million, and the insiders.
But right now,
which he clearly stated on Friday he has no intention of selling.
But right now, just to clarify, as per the latest information that you got from the chief operating officer, what's his name?
Pavlos Ignatiades.
Thank you. Just testing you.
Say that one real fast.
I don't know his name. But the info you got from him is that the free float, the current shares outstanding is around 183 million. Is that right?
The current shares outstanding are right at 180. The free float is 153.
150. Okay. And a lot of the data sources that we have, brokers, FinViz, all of them, they're not reflecting that. And that, I just want folks to know, that is very common when companies are doing dilutions. Until the company, I don't know what the process is. I can't tell you exactly, but I know at some point the company gives the powers that be an official, here's our share count, here's the free float, and it ripples its way through the system. Everything will eventually reflect the most up-to-date shares outstanding and free float. But what the data we're seeing right now out on the websites is not accurate.
As far as the short position goes?
Not as far as the free float and shares outstanding. Like I'm looking at, if I go to just like Webull, just for an example, but I mean, all of them.
I would refer to the S3 filing. The S3 has the latest numbers in it.
Yes, yes. I did tweet that out, photos of it yesterday.
Yeah, you took a lot of flack for it too.
Yep. I'm the most hated man on YouTube because I provide data direct from company filings. But
understood.
like Webull right now says shares outstanding on COSM is 83 million and free float is 46 million. And people get really mad at me saying if the latest official short interest is correct, which I think we can all agree it's probably not correct because that was November 14th. We're already weeks past that, right? But if that were correct at 6.8 million shares, you got to do the math in your head to figure what that short interest is over a new float of 150 million shares. It's not 2,000%, 600%. You guys can do the math. 15 million shares would be 10%. If short. But I put out a video.
We believe that the short interest is much higher than the 13% level. But it's definitely not 2,000%. At 2,000, even the NASDAQ would step in.
I put out a video this weekend saying 13% because that was the update from S3, the company that had been putting out the 600, 1,000, 1,999. They were the basis that one company out of all the data sources I look at was saying 2,000%. Every other data site I use daily in my trading was saying 11 to 15%. But let's just say that S3, if everybody believed it when it was 2,000%, but now that they've updated it to 13, that they're calling it FUD, they're calling me FUD, even though I could point you to a dozen other sites that say the exact same thing now, around 13%. But guys, I want you just to know, based on what Frank is saying, the free float is 150 million, and we don't know exactly what the short interest is because it's twice a month, 2-week delayed data. It sucks. It
Yes.
sucks.
One,
It sucks at retail.
One thing that leads me to believe that it is much higher than 13% is that the borrowing costs are still astronomical on the stock. I pulled that up earlier. I mean, I think we were still at, well over 100% for borrowing costs. And that usually indicates a stronger short position. I think we've overly focused on the short position. Yes, squeezes are great. Stocks go up, they stay rocking up. It's beautiful. But you have to remember that there is a strong fundamental company underneath this here. We're doing 65 million in revenues. We have earnings. We have products. We have massive distribution lines. We have 3 acquisitions on deck. This is not, a shell or a lot of these other short squeezes. There's no meat and guts underneath the cover. We have a lot of meat and potatoes.
I want to give you a minute before we wrap up to talk about that a little bit more at length, but I just have one other thing on the short interest and free float topic. And you just touched on it, and I don't want to miss the chance to talk about it.
Understood.
I got a lot of questions over the weekend. Why is the cost to borrow so high if the short interest is only 13%? And I just want to reiterate, 13% was based on November 14th data, and it could easily be higher than that. I just report what I have the data on, and yes, it's probably higher. But the other thing that I think is important to know, if you're bullish on COSM, based on 13F filings and what I can see, Frank, maybe that doesn't appear to be any big institutional ownership, Vanguard, BlackRock, ETFs, anybody like that holding this stock. And those companies tend to hold tens of millions of shares of comparable companies and lend those shares out. So I'm just looking at it like this stock is probably owned mostly by insiders and retail traders. And even if the short interest were only 13%, but maybe it's 30, doesn't really matter. There's less lendable shares because there's no, what I call predatory institutional lenders holding tens of millions of shares of this stock. So it might, it could be that the cost to borrow is high. Clearly, when cost to borrow is high, there's a dearth of lendable shares, a lack of lendable shares.
Well, I think that number went down dramatically because the funders like Armistice and AGP and Anson, these guys had a ton of warrants, and once those warrants were exercised, that took all of the institutional ownership out of it. That went to retail, so that probably where the distribution came from. At one point, we were at 300% to borrow the stock.
Yeah, so I saw some videos over the weekend, like, hey, well, look at this ticker. It has a float similar to COSM, and it's the cost to borrow is only 1%. But if you go look at the institutional owners in those companies, I almost would bet you money that they have tens of millions of shares. And the one video I did double check. Doesn't matter the channel or the symbol, but it had at least 20 or 30 million owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. So more lendable shares, lower cost to borrow until you soak all those up. So in that sense, I think COSM might be in better shape, not having all these predatory institutions lending out shares to shorts.
I certainly hope you're right. Just remind everybody, when you open up your retail accounts, make sure you check the box that said, do not hypothecate my securities. If you don't want your shares to be lent out, check the box saying you don't want them lent out.
Even people in a cash account now, a lot of these brokers are creating share lending opportunities, and they'll be calling you and emailing you, especially if the cost to borrow is high. They want to capture that income. Doesn't matter if they need they need my shares. They're calling these folks up. They want the money. They want the money, the lending fees. So if you have something that has a high cost to borrow, they might reach out to you. Turn off share lending, even if you have a cash account. And I have seen, believe it or not, brokers turn it on without people's knowledge. Last time I sent out a tweet saying, just check your Webull. About half the people that wrote back to me said, son of a bitch, the share lending was turned on and I know I did not do it on a cash account.
Yeah, you know, whatever broker you're using, you just have to remember they're not your friends. They want you as a customer because they're making money on every transaction you make. They are selling your order flow. They're scalping you. They're front running you. They're doing everything they can to extract as much money from you as possible. So get knowledgeable. Listen to Tony, and he'll guide you through this process. You can't eliminate their edge, but we try to reduce it as much as possible.
All right. So fill us in real briefly, because I'm not going to pretend to be the Cosmos Holdings expert. I'm certainly not. I've been following it for a momentum trade. I've read through all the financials, Frank, the most recent one. I've read through a year's worth of press releases, the ones that were interesting. I know there were a couple of acquisitions on the table.
Yeah.
Are those still in play? What
Yeah.
What is the information you'd like the folks to know about Cosmos?
Well, forward-looking, obviously, we signed 2 LOIs, one with Cana Labs, which is a European R&D laboratory that has been in business for over 100 years. They do about 12 to 13 million in revenue right now. Most importantly, they have an R&D license, which if you were to go out and try to purchase that, it would cost about 50 million US dollars. So that's in process. We're hoping to have that wrapped up as soon as we handle the issues at hand that have taken our focus off for the short term. And the other one is ZipDoctor. ZipDoctor is a telemedicine platform. Telemedicine is a great business. It's low cost, low overhead, low maintenance, and it's very, very high margins. You know, you invest $100,000 a month, you can pull $1 million a month out in revenue, and the margins are somewhere between 80 and 90%. It's the future of medicine. Nobody wants to drive. I have 3 kids. I don't want to take my 3 kids with me to the doctor, sit in the office with a bunch of snot pickers, and everybody ends up leaving out they're sick. You know, when I could just use Zoom, call a doctor, he calls you back in 3 minutes, tell him what symptoms are, you're allergic to anything, he calls in a prescription to your local pharmacy. It's a great platform. It's most needed in the Native American areas because they have the worst medical care in the country, and they're very hesitant to go to the mainstream doctors, but they have no problem making a phone call and getting a call back and being able to get their medicine. So we're going to be focusing very heavily on that in the next couple of quarters because, like I said, it is just such a high margin business. The press release, not the last one, the one before, about the weight loss medication, that's actually going to be a pharmaceutical compound. So the company is getting into the biotech area. We're excited, first of all, because biotech traded a much higher multiple than nutraceuticals, but it's also an entire new product line we're going to be getting into. And we've shown in the past that we can exploit these product lines. Amazon, Nickelodeon, Iberia Airlines, we do have major distribution for our products.
Did you talk, I'm sorry, I was reading some comments. Did you talk about the Cana, like maybe a rough timeline? That letter of intent was signed back in July, I think, right?
Yeah, it's a big acquisition. And like I said, we got sidetracked because of this NASDAQ listing problem and the raise and the stock being under 10 cents. So Greg really has been focusing on how to let shareholders know that he was in the battle with them and how to, get the stock price up and things like that, because we're trying to avoid an RS at all costs. But now that these things are gone, there's cash in the bank again, you can obviously focus on that a little bit more heavily going forward.
Okay. Guys, Frank, I don't know if you have any other information you want to cover, or maybe we can take a question or two from the audience.
I'll answer whatever I can, and if I don't have the answer, I'll get it for you. So go ahead.
I'm going to give them a second to get your best questions in, and I'll read them out loud here. Someone's asking, is there any plans for COSM to work with upstream on a dual listing?
No comment.
No comment, guys. Waiting for the next question, and I'm reading back through some other comments to see if I can pull any out. John's Day Trades is asking, what would Frank say is the reason for the price action last week where it went to 80 cents, then got pulled back down into the 30s?
Well, I think that, there was heavy short activity. You could see the ladder attacks on the way down, but you also have a lot of people scalping the stock. I can't blame traders for making money when a stock's swinging. This thing was in a beautiful channel. You could have traded it all day. There is a heavy short interest in the stock, and you can see them pushing it down, and then the retail steps back in and brings it up. But the S3 filing, which was filed 3 weeks ago, and then it was refiled because there was an amendment, they exploited that and put it all over the place that we were going to dilute. But there's no reason for that right now because we just took in almost 10 million in cash from the warrant exercises. So the S3, it won't be effective. I mean, Tony, you know how long it takes, 15, 20 days from the day of the amendment. So that was filed Thursday. You go 15, 20 days, it'll be effective. And it's only a shelf registration. As your people should know, a shelf registration is just that. It's on the shelf and it's ready to be used if and when the company needs it. We don't
doesn't
need it
mean
right
you're
now.
going to doesn't mean you're all going to sell all those in a week. It's at the company's discretion.
Yes, when needed. And right now we're cashed up. There's no reason for it right now.
And that brings up, you just jogged my memory on another common question that I see going around on the chat boards. I'm familiar with the S3 filings. We're on amendment number 2, right? The latest one. And some people were saying this amendment number 2 clearly says that the $50 million offering is off the table. And I'm like, no, it doesn't say that. Right? I want to hear your words, Frank. It does not say the offering's off the table, right?
Shelf means on the shelf. It doesn't mean shelved.
Right.
There's a difference.
I think because they saw
means it's there to use.
They saw the words in there, that it's removing amendment number 1, and like, oh, well, that means it's canceled. No, it was just a change, guys, from the previous filing. And in the first page, it tells you what the changes are. And I've compared them side by side with the tool that I have. It's minimal changes, but the offering's still planned, just so we're clear.
See, planned is a tricky word. There is no plan to use it at the moment because we just took in the cash. So, we have it there.
The filing's planned.
The filing is planned. Of course it's planned. Once again, Greg is always looking forward. He's not a person that sits in the rearview mirror. He's looking forward. He's got other acquisitions that we haven't announced yet on the table. There's a lot of things coming that if they materialize and we need the cash right away, we have to have access to it. That's just smart business. Any NASDAQ company.
Yeah, that is common practice. You want to have a shelf offering before you need it. You want to have it ready to go before you need it, not trying to save your bacon at the end of the day.
Exactly right.
That's general counsel for any company raising money.
Yes.
All right. Next question. What does Frank think that the stock is worth if shorts weren't screwing around with it? So fundamental value.
Yeah. Listen, our enterprise value right now is roughly maybe 35, 40 million. We're trading at 2x revenue right now, market cap wise. What's the stock worth? I can't really give that because that would almost be like a price prediction, and I don't do that. I think we're trading at a low multiple. I think that with the forward-looking acquisitions, that will be highly valued to us. But as far as price predictions or anything like that, I really can't get into that.
I try not to do that either, but sometimes I refer to Morningstar because then I don't have to give the answer. And right now, they have a fair value price, but it's asterisked with a high degree of uncertainty. It's slightly over $1, but as we know, with any company, any equity trading, at the end of the day, the price that it's going to trade for is what investors value it at, not what any one person or any one website says. And some people are willing to pay more for future value of companies. So
People pay
it
a
is
lot of money for Bitcoin.
it's a tricky question for anybody to answer, really.
My father always told me something's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Yep. Teddy Zane, okay, failures to deliver, and what's up, Teddy? Thanks for joining in. Teddy's asking about failures to deliver and threshold lists. What's the story, and will it affect the value of the stock when they cover those FTDs? So I did a little bit of digging on the FTDs, and Frank, I don't know if you've been paying attention to those. When the latest offering happened around October 20th, and the short interest skyrocketed from 700,000 to 5.5 million shorts. At that same time, the company got on the FTD, the threshold list. FTD spiked massively, and they've come down, but it remains on the threshold list as far as I can tell since late October. Is that something that you've had any discussions with Greg about?
Well,
Or do you have any thoughts on that?
The threshold list is a funny thing because to the average person, the threshold list would seem like a huge factor. But when we talk about the short position, first of all, the naked shorts and the dark pools are not reported. So that's the biggest key, that you don't know really what's out there. The threshold list could be anywhere from 10,000 shares to 10 million shares. We don't know because they don't publish how many shares were failed to deliver. So anytime there's a failure to deliver, company's going to go on the threshold list.
Yeah, it's something, guys. I hate commenting on threshold lists because people get really pissed when I talk about it. I've seen play after play after play where people hinge their hopes on FTDs and the threshold list. And I've rarely, I'm not going to say never, but rarely seen it have a meaningful impact on a stock. It is something that I pay attention to. It's an indicator that there's some clearing issues, some plumbing issues, maybe some naked shorting issues. And it is unfortunate that we get FTD data so delayed. But I just have not found it to be a useful tool for me to make a definitive buy-sell decision based off a threshold list or FTDs. But it is something definitely that can indicate that the shorts are having some problems.
Well, we are very concerned about the short position because obviously that's just another added advantage that the big houses have. I mean, it's bad enough that we're trading against supercomputers and algorithms that track the AI and track the sentiment on Twitter and StockTwits and all these other sites. But then they use the naked shorts where we're battling. It's like a never-ending faucet. And we believe strongly that the naked shorting was a major problem here because they wouldn't have defended certain price levels the way they did. You know, you could see when the shorts came in. I mean, the ladder attacks, they brought it down, the wash trading. This is the kind of thing that we are looking into strongly, and we want to put safeguards in. You're never going to eliminate it, but we look at it this way. It's like a home computer. You buy that computer, you put it online, and you plug it in with no protections. It's very easy. They can come after you. You add antivirus. If you add a VPN, you put a mesh router. Now you have layers of protection that make you unattractive for shorts. Because if it's difficult or there's a chance that they could be exposed, they'll move on to the next victim that's not putting those pieces in place.
I want to just add in my 2 cents to the question that was asked 2 questions ago about when the price ran up into the 80s and then it had those drops back down into the 60s in the next hour. I was watching that live as it was happening, and I've watched it happen on many different momentum plays. And I've also done some back investigation into other other retail traders who are short traders, like their whole channel is about shorting stocks. And they are waiting. They're just waiting, guys, whether it's retail shorts, high-speed traders, an institution that's wanting to short COSM or any ticker. They're waiting for these spikes to go in. I know what they're saying to themselves. I'm going to pile on short right now. It can't go much higher. And sometimes they're right. So, and then you see in the next couple bars, you'll see a major push down. And that's from active shorting and people taking profits that were just day trading for the upside. So you get those big moves down over the next few bars. That is a combination of short selling and profit taking from day traders. And I've also seen these retail shorts miscalculate on the bounce. It goes down and retail piles back in and soars it back up. I've literally watched a guy lose $800,000, Frank, a young gentleman on YouTube in 1 hour with a bad call on a short position. So
I can't say that I feel bad for him.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for him either. I don't short stocks. I said that at the beginning of this play. I don't like that unlimited risk. But he was convinced, oh, I called the top. I'm going to short it. And the ticker was HKD, of all things. Some of y'all might remember that one.
Yeah.
And I watched him lose 400,000 on another play, doing the same thing. So these shorts are not infallible. Retail can beat them, but when you see those big spikes, you need to know, guys, you need to know as traders to expect that there could be some shorts trying to battle you in those spikes. That's what they're waiting for, a big spike up to go try and short it. Sometimes they win for the next hour, sometimes they don't.
Well, Tony, one of the strategies that we recommend, or I've used myself, if you're in a stock and it stretches out, sell a certain amount of your position, and when it pulls back, you use that same capital to buy the same shares you sold and more. That's the way you defeat the shorts, is by, because they don't want to lose the shares. If they're shorting your position up a higher level, and then it comes down, and you double up your position, now you're hurting them.
Yep.
So
one of my favorite phrases is always be taking profits. Like if you're up majorly on a play and you still want to be in the play, take some money off the table, lock in some profit. If it comes back down, you can go back in and rebuy. I've bought the same stock 5 times in a day, doing that type of trading strategy. And there's nothing wrong with that. People get really mad at me for saying take some profits. But this guy told me on another channel that it's going to $100 and I must stay in it. You can do whatever you want, guys, but none of us have crystal balls and know what the top is going to be on a day. So you got to trade smart. I'm not, not everybody can day trade. So sometimes you just got to swing it to the next day and cross your fingers. But
I understand.
Rich says, do they have to cover? Someone whose father runs a hedge fund says they don't have to cover. Are we talking about COSM? I generally, Frank, I'll let you chime in on this, but I usually say shorts generally cover when the price is moving up. They don't have to cover if it's trading flat or it's going down. I guarantee you there are shorts in this play at 84 cents that are expecting it to go down to 16. And if retail pushes the price up, you will force them out. But the thing that is weighing on them right now is the high cost to borrow. So that is in retail's favor, the bulls right now in this stock, as long as the cost to borrow is high. Do you have any thoughts on do the shorts have to cover?
Well, the landscape has changed for the shorts. A year or two ago, there was a lot of cheap money around. It's really easy to go out and buy capital and support your position. As they get up to certain thresholds on price, we noticed it the other day at 74, when it hit 74 and then jumped immediately up to 84, 85. Those looked like some computer-generated buy-ins because the offer was non-existent. It jumped up. When they get a margin call, they have 60 minutes to bring that money in. If they don't bring the money in the computer goes in and covers their position. So the capital to support these shorts is not as readily available as it was, say, 12, 18 months ago. Does that play in our favor? I think so. But don't forget, these guys are very sophisticated. They've been doing this a long time. And, you know, to break a short, you have to have, it's almost a perfect storm of things to happen. You have to have retail buying and holding. The company has to deliver a couple of knockout punches and have some sort of underlying system to stop it from happening again. Because one thing about shorts, they may cover, lose money. They wait till it goes up. They reload. They're relentless. They don't go away unless you put something in place to stop them from wanting to attack your stock. We've taken steps. We got rid of the ratchet warrants. That helped. Obviously, we came off of that 6-7% level. I believe that you'll see other things brought out to try and help combat this in the future. But you know, there's no way to stop them. It's impossible.
Yep, something we all struggle with on many different plays every day and have been for years. All right, one last question, and then I'll let you go because I know it's getting late there, Frank. John is asking, would Cosmos squeezing help the company long term and help achieve the company's goals?
Well, that's a
I guess that, I mean, I don't want to answer for you, but
of
it depends
course,
on
of
what
course,
happens
a
after the
higher
squeeze,
share
right?
price. A higher share price always helps the company because the investors are happy. If we have to raise money in the future, we use less shares to raise said money. I can't see any company benefiting from their share dropping. That wouldn't in any way. But you know, of course, we want to see the stock go up. Greg has 45 million reasons why he wants to see the stock go up. So, of course, and let me just say that we are very appreciative of the support of the retail community, and I hope that they realize how much the CEO does reciprocate that, and he's in there with you.
Frank, I want to thank you for taking the time out to come in and answer these questions. Maybe we can do this again if a flurry of new questions come up that I can't help folks with on day to day. And I've got your number now, so if I need to, I'll be reaching out to you. But I promise you, I won't be bugging you every day.
It doesn't matter to me, but I get hundreds of calls and messages a day, and I return every single one of them, no matter how long it takes. I even try to answer all the tweets, which is a mountain. But Tony, if you ever want to be in touch directly with the company, I have no problem setting that up, and you can speak to them directly. This way, you could say you got it directly from the source. So if you ever need anything, let me know. They're readily available.
All right. Thank you very much, Frank. Have a great evening.
You too, buddy. Thank you.
Take care. All right, guys. Tindy Time is joining us in now. Joining us on the chat. Tindy Time, what's up, brother?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Before I introduce you, I just want to say thank you again to Frank. Hopefully you guys got some value out of that. Hopefully that answered some of your pressing questions. Obviously, man, I had people arguing with me over the weekend. Tony, the CEO said the reverse squeeze is off the table. No, guys, he did not say that. There's been no official communication. Reverse split. Did I say reverse squeeze? The reverse split has not been publicly discussed by the company. Frank, you heard it from him tonight. It was approved, as I said it would be on Friday. They have that in their back pocket now to use if they need to. But if and when we'll get an actual press release, I don't know. So it's approved. I think organically, they're hoping that the company goes over $1 for 10 trading days. They don't have to use that card. But I will be keeping an eye out for press release if one comes out on the reverse split. Tindy Time is, guys, another fellow YouTuber. Tindy Time, introduce yourself. Tell the folks the name of your channel, and how are you doing tonight, buddy?
My name is Corey. I have a team where still trying to figure it out, but
Your mic's cutting in and out, Tindy.
I don't know how to fix that. And I don't know. I'm still trying to find the footing for my channel. I've just started the channel to try to bring people simple terms and explain things to people and understand how simple indeed every day. And recently,
hey, Corey, unfortunately, I'm going to have to maybe try and reconnect, check your Wi-Fi settings or something. We're only catching 50% of what you're saying. Sorry about that. We'll see if he can try again. Let's see if this is any better. All right. What other questions do you guys have while Corey is checking his settings? Six Son asking, will I be getting into COSM tomorrow? I'm definitely going to be considering getting into it. I'll be waking up right when pre-market opens, Six Son, and seeing what the momentum looks like. It's been kind of all over the map in pre-market. There's been days in the past 6 trading days where it's gone up considerably in pre-market, and the last couple of trading days, it either traded flat or went down in pre-market. So I'll wake up early. I always try and get up 3:30 in the morning, and at least if there's a ticker that I'm interested in, see how it's doing. And if there is some momentum on it, yes, I will be taking a position long on COSM and then play it by ear. I'm not the type of guy to hold something. This is my trading style. This is not advice. But when I buy something, I already know what my limit of loss is on it. You're not going to see me hold something and just watch it go down, down, down all day. If it hits my personal loss limit, I'm going to be out and I'm not going to question myself. If it goes back up, I'll jump back in. That is how I trade. I see people holding plays too long. And for some of you, the hardest thing to do is hit that sell button. You can always get back in a play, but you can't recoup losses. And you don't want to just watch plays bleed out of paralysis. All right, Corey, let's try again. Corey, test 1, 2.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let's see if we can get all of your audio.
Yeah, because it looks a lot different. I don't know if I don't know. Living out in the country and the Wi-Fi is terrible. Not working. I don't know.
All right. Well, maybe we can try it another time. I know you've been on here before and we haven't had issues, but it seems like it's a little spotty tonight, and I don't want to subject the folks to that. Thank you for trying, Corey. We'll get you on another night. He does not live stream, Salmon. He does videos. And even my channel on a gig upload speed, I think that's what I have. Sometimes I have spotty service on these evening live streams or even the daytime live stream. So I will be live tomorrow when the market opens. So feel free to check in. Typically, if it's a day we're making money, I'll go nonstop from market open to market close. If it's kind of a shitty day, not much is going on in the market, but bad news, I might just do a market open and market close. But Come back and check with us in the morning. And let's get back to some questions tonight. John says people are comparing Cosmos to AMC and GME, but one big factor that it doesn't have is buy and hold. I mean, it might, John, it might have buy and hold going on. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell looking at the chart. It looks like there's a lot of swing trading going on. Probably is. There's probably a fair amount of people that are buying and holding, but because they've been told it's going to $100 by what I call the pump and dumpers, who in a week when nothing happens will blame it on somebody else and never be heard from again. Am I in GTII? Nadia, I am not in GTII. I said a month, 6 weeks ago, that GTII, I did not see it ever hitting $8 again, and that it would slowly bleed out. And again, as always, I pissed a bunch of people off saying that, but I was basing that off of the chart back here, looking at declining prices and declining volume. I mean, I also said that after this bounce and it went back up, I said that there probably on this downtrend would be another bounce around $2. That did not happen, but we got one at $1.10. So it's in a decision moment going forward, GTII. The true believers are going to try and bid it up, but generally what happens in these is you get a second little mini bounce and then they just trail back down to 50 cents. I'm not making any predictions. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just telling you the typical thing of what happens in these plays. So back in October 6th-ish, I said GTII would never see 6, 7, 8. I said never see $8 again. And I don't like playing plays that are on the downward trend. Not for day trades or momentum trades. I want to buy them on the upside. Mojo Me says, what about Cosmos warrants? I don't know I haven't looked at all of the warrants, Mojo Me. I thought that they repriced them didn't they reprice them all to 12 cents? There might be some at 350. I don't have all of their warrants. There's several batches of them. There might be some at 350. How do I feel about HellBiz? I have not looked into HellBiz, but I have looked at the chart. Someone asked me about that the other day. I think it was around the 29th or 30th. Someone asked me as it was running up, they were asking me if I was going to buy into it. I said probably not. Hard to say if it's over, but again, it's on a downward trend with not a ton of volume. So not the type of play I'm looking for. I want to catch the plays either right when they're starting or on this upward trend. I typically am not chasing plays once they've topped out. That's just my style. Sometimes they have a second pop, and maybe that could happen, but I'm not going to make any predictions on HellBiz. What am I looking at on the COSM chart? So the COSM chart still looks pretty good on the daily and the hourly. On the bullish case, the volume is still staying relatively flat. Now, normally when you see these candles on the daily dropping, the worst thing you want to see is that daily candles dropping and the daily volume dropping. And that has not happened yet. So I'm not going to sit here today and tell you COSM is over. It's at a inflection point where next week is going to decide, maybe even Monday. There's a in my book, a very good chance that it could bounce up from here, but it could also go down. And what a wishy-washy answer. People hate it when I say that, but you had 3 trading days in the red, the last one in the green. It's hard to make a definitive call. Watch it in pre-market for some ideas about what's going to happen this coming week. That is my plan. BP asking about natural gas plays. I don't, BP. I don't do a lot of commodity trading, energy stocks, gas, oil. No. I wish I had a good ticker to call out for you. I'm sure there's some, but we've been watching energy prices bounce all over the place. Natural gas, obviously, prices have been going up, but it's not a sector that I spend a lot of time looking into. Not my strong suit. Chris asking about Mullen. I talked about Mullen earlier at the beginning of this live stream. My thoughts on Mullen: you got $5 billion dilution coming. David Mishery is going to approve it with his 1.3 billion votes, and he's going to approve the reverse split. And for me, those are not the most bullish things. So I'm not super bullish on Mullen at this point, but any good news from Mullen, you could get a short-term retail pop. I have not been trading Mullen for the last year. I owned it for about a day at the end of last week on that good news, hoping we'd have a 2 or 3 day move, and it didn't happen. So I got out of that position, and I'm gonna wait and see what happens. I originally was thinking I'd like to get in Mullen at 25 cents, and they announced the new dilution, which, they need money. They need money to carry them into 2024. That's when Mullen gets really interesting. So they'll have a little revenue coming in 2023. The Mullen 5 is really what they're pinning their hopes on, and that's their own words. They expect the bulk of their revenue to come from the Mullen 5. That is, you're looking at a 2024 timeframe. I'm not going to park my money for a year waiting on a company that has no real production other than a couple of vans and the IGO over in Europe. That's just not. I'd rather buy Tesla or Polestar or something that has NEO even, although I'm not big on Chinese stocks right now. I did just recently reestablish a position in Tesla. Mullen, because it's so speculative, so much dilution, I'm going to stick to my guns and say, for me, my trading style, I want it as brutally cheap as possible. Like, if it got down to 10 cents, I might consider it. Because I'm just in my brain thinking I'm going to be sitting on that play maybe for a year. So I don't like parking money for a long time. Jersey Recycler, does Highcroft have any news scheduled to come out by the end of the year? Affirmative, Jersey Recycler. They issued a press release a couple days ago that said more core samples are going to be, results are going to be released by the end of this year. So I think you can expect that. I have probably 2 more Highcroft videos to do. If you're curious about Highcroft, I have 3 videos out on the long-term plan for Highcroft, why I consider it I'm bullish on it. I own some Highcroft and some 2025 calls. But for me, that is just like Mullen, a very long-term play. All the reasons why are laid out in my videos. Please don't take them as me being negative on the stock. That is me being realistic based on the company's communications in their documents to us. And all of that's laid out in those 3 videos. The next video I'm going to do on Highcroft is how to explain it like I'm 5, how to read a core sample report. And then the final video I'm going to do is, what about this milling operation? What about this milling operation? What is it going to entail? What's it going to cost? What's the timeline? And I think once all of that information's out, you'll have a really good understanding of how to play Highcroft. I call it, in my book, speculative play, because they're not actively mining. They're draining down the leach pads. They're going to be surviving on the next year on cash, and they need to build a new milling plant. So until they're in the next phase of operation, just like Mullen, till something is really happening to generate revenue, you got to, in my book, call it speculation. That doesn't mean negative. I know there's channel. Tony Denaro is a paid actor telling you to get out of Mullen. Bullshit. Use your ears. I am long on Mullen. I'm trying to explain to you why I'm in it and why my time frame is what it is. And yes, thank you, Mike. Gold and silver prices also can have a positive impact on Highcroft. The metals sector tends to go up, all of them, including Highcroft, when gold and silver prices go up. And conversely, if they fall, it will affect the stock price. What do I think about CEI? I have it on my watch list as a retail momentum trade only. I've never found a reason to own CEI, but I think the last time, come on, man. Here we go. I think the last time I looked at their fundamentals, they had made some improvement. Net income, earnings per share. Yeah, I need to do a refresh when I'm not live on CEI, but it looks, yeah, they've definitely made some improvement over the last year. They're not losing $1 per quarter now on earnings per share. It's down to 5 cents. So it's looking better. I need to give them another look, but this is the type of play that I play on. Jump in for these type of retail momentum spikes. Jump in it for a few days, make some money, get out. It's not a company that I want to own when the overall chart looks like this. I was talking about not wanting to play stocks that are in a downtrend. I'll own it for a couple days. It's so damn cheap right now. If you don't think they're going bankrupt, maybe, but I'm not typically a holder of stocks that are this cheap. Doug says, what do I think about AMC? AMC and APE, I do have a position in those. I've been in that play with a variety of, I'll give you the quick rundown if this is your first time here. I watched the GameStop thing back in January 2021. I was unfortunately not in the play, and it far surpassed my expectations. And that woke me up to start paying attention to GameStop and AMC. I started buying AMC in May. I later bought some GameStop once the price came down. And on the AMC run up in June of 2021, I had shares and a shit ton of options, both. I made, I forget how many tens of thousands of dollars profit on the options. Those were the first things I sold while I was watching the other guys, buy $100 call options as it was running up from 60 to 70. I'm selling. I'm always taking profits. And so I consider the shares that I'm holding now basically free and clear, paid for. I own AMC, everything between $8 and $38. I've bought it at a variety of times. In 2021, I've traded call options on it numerous times since June. Every time it gets in a really, really bad dip, like it's been on recently, I'll buy call options a couple months out, wait for the next spike up, and sell them. So I have several options, call options active in AMC right now. Those aren't home run expectations. Those are just make money plays. And my shares are just, there was a squeeze in June. Was it the maximum squeeze? I don't know. The next potential for a squeeze is when either some catalyst happens, a market catalyst or a company catalyst that gets money coming back into this play. And the most likely scenario that I'm looking at for that happen, I know all of the hopeful strategies. I don't talk about those, the hopeful catalysts. I don't talk about those much on this channel. I look at things that I can put my fingers on, things that I can read, things that I can prove. And I'm fine sitting on my shares, watching the company's fundamentals continue to improve quarter to quarter. And as the fundamentals improve and they get to a position where they're not losing money on the quarterly statements, then plus Adam Aaron has the APE shares to pay off the debt. I think that these shorts are going to second guess the play that they're in. And that is really, if nothing else happens, if none of the other catalysts that you hear about on the other channels happen, as long as the fundamentals are improving and the company's moving to profitability, they got Highcroft, they got popcorn, they got co-branded credit cards, they got the Zoom conferences. I don't know what the impact of all those are going to be. We'll have to wait and see. But I do know there's more movies than ever going to be in 2023, and people are not shying away from going to the movies. The trajectory it's not in a positive earnings, but it's headed the right way. I'm very patient. A lot of people are emotional and upset because they were promised Moash yesterday. Guys, I turned on this camera July of last year because of clickbait channels, because of people telling folks things that they can't back up with hard data. I hope whatever play you're in, that your wildest dreams come true. And sometimes they do. But I don't plan my investments around that. That's a bonus for me. By the way, speaking of movies, go see the movie Devotion. If you like World War II movies or Korean era war movies, if you like Top Gun, go see Devotion. You're not going to regret it. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's the story of the first Black naval aviator, a true story, a true war hero. It's not as action-packed. There is plenty of action, but it's not as action-packed as a Top Gun. It's a man's life story, his struggles with racism and being the first African-American naval aviator. Go see that movie. You're going to, I think, enjoy the story and the fight scenes in that movie are really well done as well. Mario B says he likes Mario Brothers movies. I saw the previews for Mario Brothers movie. It actually looked pretty good. It did. I might go see it. And I don't have any kids in that age bracket. Violent Night. Yeah. See, when I was showing my wife the previews of that on the AMC app, we were thinking about going to a movie this weekend, and that was the first one we looked at. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to get a movie in this weekend, but she's very interested in going to see it. Violent Night, the evil Santa movie. And Top Gun, by the way, if you haven't seen it in IMAX, it just got re-released at AMC. So you got one more chance. I saw it regular movie. I saw it in digital, and I'm going to go see it again, probably this week in IMAX. Stephen, just another ape, says Violent Night was great. Thank you, Stephen. You already saw it, huh? Do you want to come on and tell us about it real quick? Seawind killed it in sports betting. Were y'all betting on the MMA fights this weekend? Sorry I couldn't join in watching that with you. Do we have numbers for Black Panther? I can pull them up. Yeah. Hang on one second. I don't think, and Stephen probably can talk to it also. I don't think it has been performing as well as hoped. Box Office Mojo. How do I feel about Ape? Bag Lady is asking. Good question. Obviously, I have been incorrect. Mark it on your calendar. Tony said he was wrong. I have been incorrect to date on what I thought was going to happen with Ape, right? I have been saying since before they released it that I expected it to be trading at parity with AMC. Even AMC thought that. Adam Aaron said the same thing. And some short sellers have said the same thing. They were going long Ape and shorting AMC. It has not worked out that way just yet. I'm, again, very patient. Is it being artificially punished because they want to make sure Adam Aaron can't raise some money? Maybe so. Is it that people just have a negative view of Ape and they're just not willing to hold it? Probably some of that too. Is it that institutions aren't required to hold Ape for ETFs? Probably that too. All these institutions that Vanguard and BlackRock that got their Ape, they don't need to hold that. Probably the first thing they did was sell it. And I bet you might remember there was a big sell-off the first day or two on Ape. Why would they hold it? They're not required to hold it for their ETF funds. And I don't know. There's a lot of reasons it could be pushed down, but I'm patient and I still believe in the arbitrage theory. And I since August, I have only been buying Ape. And my last purchase was, what did I get it at? 99? No, I got it at exactly $1 because I had a limit order set. So we're looking for Black Panther. That's not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, what my theory is. Other people have other theories. And we'll see. Time will tell. To this date, I have not been correct on what is going to happen with Ape. Let's look at the weekly for Black Panther. $54 million for this week. 101 million. And 220. I mean, it's dropped off. It's falling 50% every week. That's on the domestic box office. What do I think about the market cap for Ape? I think the same thing that I think about the S3 data on COSM. If one data source like Yahoo Finance is telling you one thing and every other data source is telling you something different, you probably should understand that there is a problem with that one. I don't know why everybody, but S3, Tony, S3 told us that the short interest was 2,000%. I don't care what Fintel, Finviz, Ortex, I don't care what anybody else said. I'd want to believe the one number because that guarantees I'm going to get rich. Or it could just be that their data was wrong. The more you got to ask yourself, what is the more likely scenario? Yahoo Finance's numbers are not correct on Ape, and you should be bugging them to fix it. Trish, all right, we talk about MMTLP early in this live stream. As we're wrapping up here, I'll touch on it one more time for those that missed the early part of the live stream. I think December 14th is the final day that ticker will be listed. If you're holding MMTLP all the way through, you're going to be given NextBridge shares, which will not be tradable anywhere. Hopefully everybody understands that now. I see people saying, I'll write it down to 0 and give me that NextBridge. I don't care if I lose money. Hey, do what you want. I have said for 8 weeks, I do not agree, from talking to trade desks and talking to well-known big short sellers. I do not agree with the theme that everybody's saying that shorts must cover and it's going to go to $100. I'm sorry to tell you that. That's my position. I could be wrong. My opinion. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm not in the play at all because I think it's going to go down. We'll see if I'm right. You can come back and tell me, Tony, I made $1 million on it. You were wrong. Thank God you were wrong, Tony. I hope I'm wrong if you're staying in that play. Honestly do. You're just asking my opinion. I'm sharing my opinion. Because they know that it's going to be delisted. People are going to be leaving that play in the next 10 days. Nicole, good evening to you. 24 the money. Carl Icon can squeeze GameStop if he closes his shorts. Yeah, absolutely. If any shorts in any play close, they're going to drive the price up. All right, guys. Hopefully you found the conversation tonight helpful. We covered a few tickers. We had a good long conversation with Frank over Cosmos so that I'm not the only one sharing the info with you, because some of you don't know me. Some of you have been listening to me every day for a year. Thank you for your support, whether it's your first time here or you're a long-time viewer of the channel. Join me on the live stream tomorrow. Oh, you know what? We haven't had a drink the entire night. I've had this fucking skull filled of hater tears. I haven't even had a shot. Let's do a shot together, guys. Screw the hedge funds. Screw shorts. Screw clickbait. Screw pump and dumpers. We want to make money. We can be bullish and still understand the facts in any play so that we have an appropriate exit. I hate seeing all these ridiculous pump and dump plays, companies that have no revenue. And I'm talking some of them like GTII, literally no revenue for 5 years. And people say it's going to $1,000. Come on, let's be real. That was a pump and dump play. And I called it from almost day one, but there's nothing wrong with getting in a pump and dump play as long as you're in it the first day. We will play those. We'll play those on this channel, but we get out. We don't buy into the pump and dump clickbait nonsense. Because at the end of the day, like I said, you can cry over lost profits. Like you got out too early. I do that all the time. I get out too early all the time. But you're going to cry a lot harder when you watch a stock that you bought at $8 go down to 50 cents. And you held it all the way because you believe some clickbaiter who then left you hanging and disappeared. I want to be here tomorrow. I want to be here next year. I want you to know that you can come here and get, as to the best of my ability, reliable information, things that are backed up with company documentation, the multiple hours every day that I put into this, waking up at sometimes 3 or 4 in the morning, staying up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, talking with you guys here on YouTube or in the Discord or chatting with you on Twitter in the comments. I appreciate all of your questions. And, it takes work to do due diligence. It's easy to pump and dump. And then, those guys that are doing the pump and dump, they're getting in before they tell you about the play. And then they're getting out before they tell you they're getting out. We don't do that here. And then the ones that follow them, the young kids, bless their hearts, They just don't have the experience doing this. I don't know if you guys know, but this is rated. I am officially ranked number 2 short squeeze specialist, according to a certificate that someone on my Discord made. I don't know if that has any weight. I don't know if that has any merit. I tried going with $5 in that certificate, and I was able to buy a coffee at Starbucks. So obviously it's worth something. But yes, you're always going to hear stuff a little bit more conservative from me than the clickbait channels. I'm not here to put out 10 videos a day. I'm not here to get 20,000 views on a video with a $1,000 price target. I value my integrity too much. And I want you to come back. No one ever holds those guys accountable. I don't understand. Maybe I got the business model all wrong. Maybe I should just pump out 20 videos a day with call everything a $1,000 price target. No one seems to care. I'm just teasing. We're never going to do that here. Sufyan is one of our channel members. I see you in the chat there, Sufyan. He is a CPA, and we will be having Sufyan. How did you get so many chats through, Sufyan? We'll be having Sufyan on to discuss some CPA questions. I'm not an accountant, but I confer with him a lot sometimes on accounting questions. And there are some financial statement things that I want to go over with you guys. We'll get Sufyan in a live stream maybe in the next week or so and go over some of those. Feel free to shoot me any accounting or financial statement questions that you have that are just bugging you. I've got a working knowledge of understanding balance sheets, cash flow statements, income statements. And I try to look at them on most plays, unless it's a play I'm in just for a few hours, who cares? But that there are places, even on YouTube or the internet, where you can take a free class, and you should, if you plan on doing stock investing, learn how to read those financial statements. Mullen and Hycroft risk of delisting. Mullen, no, there is no risk in my book because they're going to do a reverse split. Hycroft, they've got the 180 days now. And then if it comes to it, they'll do a reverse split too, but we're a long way away from that with Hycroft. So there's always a risk of delisting when you're under $1, but there are procedures, and companies will follow those procedures, reverse split, as many times as they need to, unless they're about to go bankrupt, to stay viable. So it's not exactly bullish when you see that happening over and over, like with Mullen. But if they're able to continue raising money, and Mullen is doing another share offering, you're going to have 5 billion shares of Mullen. Can you believe that? As long as they can keep raising money, they will remain viable, and they'll just do reverse splits, and they're hoping to make it into full production in 2024. They probably will. I don't see them delisting at this point. If I do, I'll let you know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hat tip to all of you. It is, what time? Almost 11 o'clock here in Central Texas. Shout out to my fellow Texans. Those of you on the West Coast and East Coast, thanks for joining in. Those of you overseas that are watching right now, you are the real OGs for getting up early and listening in. If you're watching it on replay, thank you for watching all the way through. And I will see y'all at Market Open Mañana.